Hey, great to have you along today. And of course, our next guest is our resident gold expert. He doesn't know that yet, but we've made him our resident gold expert. Jonathan Awde is a CEO, president, and director of Dakota Gold Corp. Their stock symbol is DC. You can, of course, go to their website, dakotagoldcorp.com. And he joins us now via Zoom. Jonathan, great to see you, man. How are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, let's talk about gold futures and such. Boy, you guys are back in the, popular again. Gold has gone through this sort of cyclical thing where gold was always thought to have been a hedge against inflation. Then there was a few years where people thought, well, that's garbage. Boy, based upon what you guys are looking at now, the future is pretty bright for gold. Can you give us a top down on how you feel the gold markets are doing?
Yeah, as I said before, I think gold has held up really, really well. You know, last year you had a really strong dollar, you had the Fed raising rates, and now you had peak inflation, and now it looks like there's inflation may be slowing down, the Fed looking at what point do we stop raising rates, maybe there's one more hike. But when that pivot happens, when the Fed pauses and then perhaps starts thinking about cutting, is when I think you'll see gold break through its all-time high. And you're starting to see money flow into the gold funds, which is great, but it's been very slow, and it's still a very under-owned asset class.
Yeah, I agree. Jonathan, for the folks that missed you on air last time, I want you to go through again and talk about Dakota Gold Corp and some of the projects you guys have going on in South Dakota.
Yeah, so we've consolidated a huge part of the Homestake district in Leeds, South Dakota. And for those of you Netflix aficionados, there's a series called Deadwood, and it's essentially about the Homestake mine, which we are consolidating everything around it. So this was the largest mine in the history of the U.S. It produced 40 million ounces of gold. It's a very well-endowed gold district. And we've done a couple of deals with Barrick Gold, who had acquired Homestake in 2001. We announced our best drill intercept to date last week at our Richmond Hill project. And we still have 4 rigs active and drilling. So there's a real discovery aspect here, and looking to pick up where Homestake and Barrick left off in 2001.
With respect to your drilling of your project, which I think you started last spring, talk to us about your results and such.
Yeah, so we've got the 4 rigs turning. 2 rigs are on our Maitland project, which is contiguous and immediately north of the old mine. We announced a discovery there back in February called the Unionville discovery, which is in a particular package of rocks, high grade, close to surface. And the drill hole that we announced last week at our Richmond Hill project, we hit 30 meters of 6 grams, so very high grade, close to surface. And we feel like we're barely scratching the surface. And just, when Homestake had so much success in the old mine, they never really stepped outside to look outside of the old mine. And when they did, they were successful in almost every area we looked. And we have all of that data, and we're following up on that. So there's both what's called brownfields and greenfields. So brownfields is more advanced stage drilling, step outs, infill drilling. And then greenfields is more exploration, discovery-driven drilling. So we have both kinds of that drilling going on our project right now.
What's interesting is you've talked about, expanding the circumference of the mine. Is that sort of the model? In other words, as you guys move forward and you do new discoveries, do you guys have technology that says, hey, let's try over here instead? Or I mean, how do these new finds come up in the middle of a drill like that?
So what Homestake did in the early 90s, when they recognized that what they had was a finite resource, because they were down almost 8,000 feet below surface. So temperature, a lot of challenges to produce at those depths back then. What they did was they drifted out, and they made a discovery on the Maitland project, which was called the North Drift Discovery. So we are drilling the shallower portion, what's called the up-dip portion of that right now, in the same formation that Homestake was mining for 125 years. So there's really 2 components to it. We've done, we have a lot of the historical data that's really guided and influenced our exploration and our consolidation program. And then we've just done, mapping, geophysics, geochemistry, and really applying that institutional knowledge that some of our, chief geologist and vice president of exploration and our chief operating officer used to work at Homestake, worked underground, were part of the discovery that was made on our project called the North Drift Discovery. So we're utilizing that institutional knowledge and that expertise to guide this exploration.
His name is Jonathan Awde. He is the president, CEO, and director of Dakota Gold Corp. They are publicly traded on the NYSE American Exchange under the stock symbol DC. That's DC. You can go to dakotagoldcorp.com. So what's next for you guys? I know you can only tell us a few things as a publicly traded company, but lead us into the rest of 2023, at least what you're looking forward to, and what's the next steps for DC?
Yeah, so with the recent drilling success we've had at both Richmond Hill and Maitland, we really feel like we're on the cusp of a discovery at Maitland in both the tertiary, which is a younger package of rocks, and this Homestake formation. And then at Richmond Hill being a little bit more advanced because there's a significant number of historical drill holes. We're looking to convert those into from a historical resource into a compliant resource, so we can talk about, hey, there's X number of ounces there. But really, it's totally open. There's a bit more consolidation that's currently underway. As you all know, in the exploration world, whether it's oil and gas or in mining, private ground, owning private land is so key.
Sure.
So many of these areas that we're drilling, we own the surface and mineral rights. And so it's not BLM ground or it's not U.S. Forest Service. We do have some land that is on that. For the most part, it's private ground. So really excited about discovery and resource conversion at Maitland and Richmond Hill.
His name, Jonathan Awde. Jonathan, thanks, brother. Can't wait to have you back on the air. Jonathan Awde, Dakota Gold Corp, stock symbol DC. Kind of like that. There's his website, dakotagoldcorp.com. Makes you feel better about investing in gold, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I've got some exchange-traded funds I can talk to you about with respect to gold. But I like DC, that's for sure. All right, Big Biz Show continues. Sully, Costa, and the Day Trader